Today's topic is one I've talked about in the past, but have never really fully fleshed out. We're talking about aesthetic inertia. Aesthetic inertia is the idea that the root of men's appearance is based in passivity as opposed to proactivity. Now, it may have started out as a proactive decision, but it no longer is for the vast majority of men. Before we talk about clothes, I want to talk about two different things: your bank account and your insurance company. Odds are you're like me and you use the same bank and the same insurance company that your parents did. They may have set up an account for you when you were old enough to first start managing your own funds. You just never had any reason to go elsewhere. Maybe they just added you to the insurance of their existing car when you first started to drive, or they gave you the name of the agent when you moved out on your own. There's no reason to get more proactive than that. I used the same bank as my dad for years until there was an event that kind of catalyzed my moving over to another one. I started working for a competitor. And that's typically the way that it goes. We usually don't change until there's either this big problem or a really juicy incentive that actually makes us want to make the switch. Maybe you can save $50 a month by switching insurance companies. That's a no-brainer. But is it worth it if you only save $5? Okay, so let's bring this back around to the way that you dress. The men most guilty of inertia are those who continue to dress the way that their moms dressed them when they were little kids. Now, this may not be a bad thing. The other day I was talking to my friend about his suit. He told me it was from Brooks Brothers, and he got it a few years ago when he got home from doing an extended 2-year church service. In his family, there's this tradition of the father taking the son to Brooks Brothers to get a suit as part of this progression into full-fledged adulthood. Is it inertia? Of course. But it's very intentional inertia. And while that may not be the case for most of us, there's still plenty of room for aesthetic inertia to rear its head. I know plenty of men in their 30s who still dress like the skate punks we were when we were teenagers. Big life changes, getting married, changing careers, having kids, anything you can think of. It wasn't enough to get them to change their clothes and shake up their identities. They still see themselves as these kind of like rebel punks. The changes were big, but they were gradual, and these men were well into their 30s, so they were sure enough in themselves that they didn't need to fully change what they were projecting to the rest of the world. But think about those who do go through major changes. What about middle-aged men who get divorced and all of a sudden find themselves back on the dating market? Or young single guys who make the transition from being full-time in school interns into a fully fleshed out adult career? Or men who retire from a busy life in the city to a more peaceful and quiet life in a small rural town? Most of the time, irrespective of age, these changes are so big that as part of them, men end up changing the way that they dress. Part of it's an embrace of the new, part of it's saying goodbye to the old. Their pace of life changes, their goals change, and most of all, their tribe changes. When it comes to a man's appearance, both change and tradition, they're neutral. Neither is good, neither is bad. Okay. And really, I know that this just means that you want to know what the solution is. The solution, just like the solution for inertia in real life, is for you to take action and start the momentum or stop the momentum. The whole purpose of understanding aesthetic inertia is to learn that you are the one who's in control, that you're the one who gets to determine how much you move, how much you stay, and really just what the end game of all of this is. You want to change the way you look? Do it. You don't want to change the way you look and you want to embrace the tradition of your family or your tribe or whatever it is that you've been wearing for the entirety of your life, do it. That's great. But just make sure that you're the one who is in control of your appearance as opposed to it just being a force of habit or this idea of aesthetic inertia that's controlling you. It's easy. The trick is making sure that you're either embracing tradition or embracing change because you want to. Otherwise, your inertia can take over and your appearance becomes reactive. The best dressed men are those who use their inertia as opposed to being used by it. So if you want to learn more about the topic of aesthetic inertia, head on over to the site, which is masculine-style.com. There will be a link for you here below. As part of that, go take the archetype survey and learn which of the 3 masculine style archetypes, rugged, refined, or rakish, you fall into. It's like having an island to swim towards. You know, if I drop you out in the middle of the ocean and tell you to start paddling, you're going to have no way to go. And a lot of guys find themselves in this predicament when they decide that they want to start dressing better. But if you're in the middle of nowhere, if you're in the middle of the ocean and all of a sudden you see an island, then you have purpose, you have direction, you know where you need to start going to swim. And that's the whole purpose of these 3 style archetypes, is it gives you a general sense of land towards which you can swim, and then you get to fill in the details from there on your own. So make sure you check that out. Leave me a good old thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe, share this with your friends, and I will see you for the next one.